Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast here on a beautiful third Wednesday afternoon in November. Lucas Frankel alongside Mike Lucas and Mike. Something very disturbing happened yesterday for me. I was cooking dinner for my beautiful wife. First day back at work since our wedding. I wanted to make sure that she, got back. Everything was, ready for her after a stressful day. And she says to me while I'm making dinner, Lucas, I have this show that I just saw that I think you would enjoy. And she goes, The Comeback on Netflix. So it's like right up your alley, sports. And I said, Leanne,
You have to divorce her right there.
first of all, yeah, this is like grounds for divorce. And second of all, I told her I would rather eat Indian food, which I don't eat. It smells horrible, every meal for the rest of my life than watch this stupid show. I would rather stick needles in my eyes than watch The Comeback on Netflix. And I just have to say, all these platforms, ESPN, Netflix, doing these stupid 2004 documentaries, no one cares. No one's watching this crap. Stop wasting money on these horrible ideas. It wastes money. No one watches them, and you're wasting everyone's time. That's all I gotta say about it. And I am never watching the stupid comeback. I'm never watching Fever Pitch. I'm never watching 4 Days in October. It's never happening. Stop coming out with these things. Stop reminding me of them that they exist. I don't care.
So what did Leanne say when you because I know you answered her with the same ferocity you just explained this here.
That's exactly what I said, Leanne. I would rather eat Indian food every single day
So
for the rest
what
of
was
my.
her response though?
She goes, "Oh, she was completely unaware. She doesn't know that 2004 is the most traumatic year of my entire life, and
Shades who
I
you are today.
choose.
She would not have married you if it wasn't for 2004. Think
I
about
don't know
that.
about that. 2004 stinks, and I'm just sick and tired of hearing about it. And I hope that no one. There we go. I had my mic too far away. Probably sounds a lot better now, but
That's not
I
wrong.
just hope and pray that these networks and whatever stop making content about 2004. Can we stop living in the past, please, and actually look forward? And that's all I got to say about that.
This last thing on why Leanne wouldn't have married you if it wasn't for 2004 though, Frankel, is she fell in love with this humble, come up from nothing, has to fight and work his butt off, blue collar guy. Had the Yankees won in 2004, you could have been a cocky Yankee fan the rest of your life. You would have seen at that point 5 World Series titles. We would have beaten the Red Sox. The Red Sox, they don't win in 2004. They don't win again when we're in college, which means the Yankees could have won again when we're in college. You could have been
It's so hard to
the
say
multi-decade
how.
of your life, Frank, would have changed if it wasn't for 2004. So in a way, maybe you should watch it as an homage to you finding your lovely
No,
wife.
I'm not. I'm never watching anything about it.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk some real sports because I also refuse to watch the documentary.
So there was another very disturbing rumor I saw on social media this week. Comes from Bill Simmons, who I consider uh one of
You can know her. I know
one of
her.
my heroes, one of my idol, and so it's been. He basically said that the Bucks, given their horrific start to the season, I believe they're like 3-8,
Mhm.
terrible. Like you expect the Bucks with Giannis and Dame to be one of, if not, the most dominant teams in the NBA. And here they are playing like absolute dog crap. Since they fired Autry, Adrian Autry was his name.
Adrian Griffin.
Adrian Griffin, sorry. Autry is a Syracuse. Adrian Griffin. They were 30 and 13. And like since they got rid of him, they're like in the same amount of games, they're like 18 and like 26. So like it's like incredible how horrible they've been since they got rid of Adrian Griffin. But either way, the Bucks now are reportedly Giannis is probably not happy. We'll see what happens with them, and they're possibly talking about him being on the market. And of course, the first team that comes up is, you guessed it, the Brooklyn Nets. And Mike, listen, Giannis is generational player, single-handedly beat the Nets, him and Chris Middleton in that 2021 playoff series. But man, it's like it's been less than a month. We can't. I mean, the Nets have been a lot better than people thought. They've actually. I haven't watched them. I have no. Honestly,
They're
they might
fun.
start. They might
They're
start
fun.
sucking me in a little bit because they are fun. They are gritty. They have a
You
lot
know,
of
you know they're
guys.
not going to be that good, but they're fun to watch, Frank. And
Well,
they're
the
really
thing is, they
well
have
coached.
been pretty
They're
good,
really well coached.
right? So they're very scrappy. They're almost too good. But either way, if they were to go for Giannis, first of all, anytime you see a team trade for a disgruntled player, like what are the chances that works out? They're usually unhappy where they are. They go to a new place, and the team has to gut their entire team. and all their resources, all their basically their entire future to get this player, and all of a sudden your future is hinged on this one player being happy and the current team being able to win a championship within a year or two, and it's so rare. The Nets have been through this so many times. Obviously, with the KG Pierce thing, oh, catastrophic failure. The Harden, Durant, Kyrie team I think could have won. It just obviously they all got hurt in 2021, and then the whole vaccine thing, but ended up not working out. And to be finally be in a situation where you have your whole future like secure, like everything is you have control of everything, and to just throw it all away for Giannis, who like I said, generational player, but I just don't see the Nets being able to surround him with the necessary pieces to win a championship. So that's why I wouldn't touch it with a 50-foot pole. I would go the opposite direction. I would trade Schroeder. I would trade Cam Johnson. I would basically do what I have to do to tank and not do this. It's a horrible idea. There's no chance this would win a championship if they traded for Giannis. And I pray to God it doesn't happen because it would be a terrible idea.
I'm not as against it as you are. Because if you get Giannis, that means you're acquiring a top three player in the NBA. And Brooklyn is a destination where you would hope, and the key word there is hope, Frank. There's no guarantee that other free agents would be attracted enough to come team up with Giannis and build your own super team. However, on the flip side, if the Nets were to trade all the assets it would take for Giannis, which they have a plethora of assets, granted, but it would take a large majority of them to get a player like Giannis, he'd be coming to Brooklyn and teaming up with not enough to compete right away. And the Nets, in my opinion, and this is not just for Brooklyn, but this is more philosophy for all NBA teams, pushing all your chips on the table for the first piece of the puzzle is not the right way to build a team. You push your pieces in and you trade in all those assets and trade chips when you're one piece away, not when you have no pieces. And if Giannis was the final piece of the puzzle and they already had some established younger players and some guys on contracts that made sense, then fine. You push in and you get Giannis. But I don't think, and I'm racking my brain quickly throughout history, I'm not sure a team's ever won a championship when they acquired their star as the first piece. And I'll use the Cavs for an example. And this is not
Yeah, yeah.
like the Cavs, for example. They had Darius in place. They already signed to a contract before they acquired Donovan. They had just drafted Evan Mobley, a guy they were super high on. They had Jared Allen on one of the best deals in basketball. They traded a bunch of draft picks and assets for Donovan Mitchell, thinking he was the final piece of what could be a championship puzzle. Even if you go to Phoenix, this hasn't worked out yet by any means. Or Toronto's a better example. They gave up all the assets for Kawhi Leonard, but they had the infrastructure in place and they thought Kawhi could push them over the top. I don't think I could think of an example, and I'm sure there is, I just can't think of it off the top of my head, where the first piece of that championship puzzle was the one they acquired for, and then they built up around him. Because if you just get Giannis, Frank, your team's going to be better, but you're
Yeah,
not.
it's a what are
have
this? They
enough.
just trade for Giannis. They're
It's still
Giannis and a bunch
stink.
of yeah. So it's a terrible idea. It's listen, I like Bill Simmons, respect Bill Simmons, love that his daughter goes to Emerson, chose a great school, but this was a terrible take. The Nets are not ready to win a championship. They are not like one piece away. Giannis is not the missing piece. It's a terrible idea. You are spot on. You're never spot on, but in this situation, you are spot on, and there's just no way that the Nets would get the results and the winning that they were looking for if they were to get Giannis. It just like you said, they're not close to being ready. They like if you look at the team now, like we have no idea who like the main pieces. I mean, it could be Cam Thomas. Dennis Schroeder's only is on the final is on an expiring contract. Like Nick Claxton's been coming off the bench and starting whatnot. Like there's so much uncertainty there. This is not the time to go in on Giannis. It's a horrible idea. I don't know. And listen, like in theory, it's like, oh, the Nets, like they got this. It's like every time the Nets get a positive culture, the idea of just throwing it all away for these veteran pieces that I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. It makes me
I,
crazy.
I, unless, so here's the one caveat here. If Milwaukee just wanted to get, and they wouldn't do this, so I'm not even gonna say it's not even worth saying because it's an impossible, implausible scenario. So it's not even worth bringing up, but it's not worth it.
All right. One thing that is worth it is the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 12 and oh, they're going to win again here on Wednesday night, make it 13 and 0 because the Sixers are playing on the second night of a back-to-back. No Paul George. No Joel Embiid. I'm gonna check the spread right now. I bet you the Cavs are probably laying 9 or 10.5.
It was 9.5 before the Paul George news came out.
All
So
right, so now it's 10.5. Cavs are favored by minus 10.5 in Philly.
no max either.
13. Wow. I mean, all right. So the cat, like, well, this is probably one of, if the Cavs are if the lose the game, it's probably going to be tonight because the Sixers are playing no more. This is usually how this stuff happens. But my God, Cavaliers about to be 13 and 0. Cleveland's had a rough go of it. The Browns are atrocious. The Guardians couldn't get past the Yankees. But here we are, the Cleveland Cavaliers looking like an absolute juggernaut, absolutely embarrassed the Golden State Warriors. I believe that was last Friday night.
Correct.
But the odds makers still disrespecting them. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
Seventh or ninth.
Eighth best odds
Yeah.
to win the NBA championship, 19 to 1. They're 12 and 0, and they're 19 to 1 to win the championship. If this isn't disrespect, I don't know. I don't know how you define disrespect in that. The Cavs, I mean, clicking all cylinders. I watched them at Mobley, much more aggressive this year. Obviously, Mitchell superstar, Garland superstar. They got everything in place.
Yeah, they're playing incredible. 12 and 0 speaks for itself. The championship and title odds, I think, are more a reflection of the betting market than it is the current state of the NBA. As much fun as 12 and 0 has been, we have to keep in mind it's 12 and 0. There's still 70 games left. Health plays such a factor down the stretch. And right now, the entire team, Frank, is making shots at an incredible level. Right now, if the season ended today, the Cavs would have the second best offensive rating in the history of the NBA, behind only last year's Boston Celtics. They'd have
I would have guessed one of those Durant Warriors teams, but no.
no those because of the way pacing and 3-point shooting. Like there are 4 teams this year that are in the top 10 all time of offensive ratings in the NBA. So it's completely flawed stat, but it just goes to show you how well they're playing. They have 3 guys off the bench shooting 45% from three or better. Ty Jerome, who is a career 34% 3-point shooter, shooting 54% and 61% from the floor. They can't miss right now. And I think part of the skepticism from some of the sports books to kind of bump up their odds as high as they probably should be, because right now they're playing the best basketball in the league and it's not even debatable. Is it sustainable? We could debate that. Is it
Are they
debatable?
peaking too early? People are asking, are they peaking too early?
Well, we don't know what their peak is yet, but it's certainly a question worth asking. None of their
I mean,
starters,
how could you possibly peak higher than this?
because, well, okay. The question isn't, are they peaking too early? The question is this their peak? And we don't know if this is their peak because it's a brand new offense that they're running. But my point is, the odds makers are saying at some point, the Cavs, who are the best 3-point shooting team in basketball at the moment, will come back to reality. And some of the guys that are shooting way over their skis compared to their career numbers will drop back down. And on a night where the Cavs aren't shooting the absolute lights off the gym, like against Golden State when they made 23s on 41 attempts, which is just absurd efficiency, they can get got. And they still have question marks about their defensive ability on the wing. So they're not an unflawed team. They still have certain areas where you look at and say this can improve and get better. But through 12 games, Kenny Atkinson has pushed every single correct button. The Cavs starters, their bench players, can do no wrong. And from an offensive and defensive standpoint, Frank, they are completely annihilating anything the opponent throws at them.
Yeah, so this is too positive a conversation for me. So we have to move on to something else immediately. So as we know, Donald Trump has been elected the president of the United States, which is, it is what it is. I hope the best for the country. I hope he does great in presidency. That would be best for everyone, but we're not here to talk about politics.
So why'd you
So
bring that up?
Donald, huh?
Why'd you bring that up?
Because Donald Trump is president, that means Woody Johnson, the owner of the
Oh,
Jets,
good point.
is now going to leave his role, at least for the next 4 years, as owner of the Jets to serve in whatever capacity. I believe it's ambassador to London. So Woody Johnson going back to his old role as ambassador to the UK. So here's my
Best news you could
stance
have
on,
got all week, right?
huh?
The best news you could have got all week.
No. People think that, but no, because Christopher Johnson, this happened 4 years ago. Christopher Johnson took over the team and he hired Adam Gase, who is by far the worst head coach in the history of the NFL. There is not a single coach who is worse. Maybe Hugh Jackson, but Adam Gase and Hugh Jackson side by side, two of the worst coaches in the history of the league. So, in my opinion, Roger Goodell needs to step in here and offer and tell this to Woody Johnson. Listen, I love that you want to serve your country and you want to, do what is right for America. That's great. That's great. But if you want to do that, You cannot own an NFL franchise. You have to pick one. Either you want to serve America or you own an NFL team. Cannot do both. Steve Cohen literally gave up his business career. He is no longer working in any other entity other than serving as owner of the New York Mets.
Mhm.
He obviously had his big business, I believe, like 0.72 or something, but he's no longer doing that because he's focusing his entire, literally dedicating his life to running the New York Mets and trying to bring them to championship. And hopefully, he doesn't include Juan Soto, and it's not part of his plans. But that is the same level of dedication that Roger Goodell should expect of his owners. You cannot have this, oh, he's leaving, so he'll just choose someone else. Someone else is choosing to run the team while he's away. Like, that is absolutely no dedication. The Jets are in a horrible spot right now because Aaron Rodgers stinks. He can't play anymore. They're about to fire, they already fired the coach. They're going to need a new coach over the offseason. Joe Douglas's tenure as general manager is probably going to end. And Woody Johnson's going to be off in London somewhere, paying absolutely no attention to what's going on. This should not be allowed. Something has to be done. Roger Goodell's got to step in and tell Woody Johnson it's either politics or the Jets, not both.
I hear what you're saying, but he can't he can't do that, can he?
Why not?
Well, because then Woody would just sell it to his son.
Well, something where he is. Then at least make it official. At least like give me something where this guy isn't bouncing back and forth every 4 years
You just
between
want
owning the
somebody
Jets.
who's fully invested. It's more of your
Yeah, because in
okay.
reality, Mike, the reason why the Jets are as unstable of an organization as they are is because it starts at the top with ownership. Any successful organization franchise has stable ownership. Ever since the Los Angeles Dodgers got rid of the McCourts, they've been an absolute juggernaut. You look at, I mean, the Boston Celtics have stable ownership. Like, it all starts at the top. The Jets have been just a catastrophe of an organization because Willie Johnson has no idea what he's doing. And half his heart all the time is in politics.
It's funny you
Focus
say
on the
that, Frank.
Jets.
We did a discussion on UCSS today. Which of these three teams is in the worst position moving forward? The Browns, the Cowboys, or the Jets? Who would you say? The worst position, the team you least want to be moving ahead.
Probably the Jets because they're on a bridge to nowhere when it comes to quarterback. Their owner is about to leave. He doesn't give a crap. They need a new coach. They need a new GM. They have a bunch of guys on 1 year deals. There's no aside from like Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson and Quinn Williams. I mean, they have three good players, and then but we don't even know how good like Sauce Gardner really is. But I just feel like that there's so much uncertainty with the Jets right now. There's nothing that you could point to as like any level of stability. So I mean, the Browns, listen, they know that Watson's not going to be the guy. Do they have the first round pick this year, the Browns?
They do, but they still owe Watson 120 million over the next 2 years.
All right. The money is what it is. At least the Browns have like a solid team in place without like Deshaun. Like, I think the Jets are the worst. I think the Cowboys are actually the second worst because Jerry Jones is so over the hill. Like in terms of people that need to step away, Woody Johnson's in my opinion number 1, and Jerry Jones is number 2. We're
And
arguing
Jimmy
about.
Haslam's three, and ironically, look at the three teams we're talking about right now.
So yeah. So would you agree with my order? Jets are the worst. Cowboys
No,
second. Browns third.
I went Cowboys worst, Jets second, Browns in the best
Why
third.
are Cowboys worst?
Because I think there's more talent overall on the Jets roster than there is outside of the three players on the Cowboys, which are all getting paid exuberant amounts of money. Dak Prescott's the highest paid quarterback in football. CeeDee Lamb's the second highest paid receiver, and Micah Parsons is about to be the highest paid non-offensive quarterback in all of football. When you allocate that much money to those three for a franchise that is shockingly cheap, despite the fact they have so much money, the Cowboys don't spend money. It is
What are you
very
talking about? You just outlined how ridiculous amounts of money they spend.
yeah, but look
They
at
they they, they irresponsibly send money.
no. They'll pay certain guys, but when it comes to the margins, they refuse to restructure contracts, paying it up front so they can fit more guys. Part of the reason the Browns can spend so much money is Jimmy Haslam just keeps restructuring these deals, paying guys a lot of their salaries up front and signing bonus, so it's a smaller cap hit, which is how they can end up spending $100 million more on their offense than any other team in football this year, which is crazy that they still stink. The Cowboys and the Patriots in particular don't do any of that. Your signing bonus is your signing bonus, your cap hit's your cap hit, and that actually restricts how much money you can truly spend in any given season. The Cowboys are paying three guys exuberant amount of money. The rest of their roster is so old, Frank, They have no running back to speak of. They have no weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb. Their offensive line outside of Tyler Smith has been abysmal. Zach Martin's about to retire. I don't like their defense, and they don't have a head coach. And they're all the owners. He's the one I least want to be associated with in terms of winning. So I took them. But there's a case. We had 4 people on the panel today, 5 if you include me. We had all 3 different answers. Like someone made a case for all 3 being the worst. I think it comes down to preference in terms of what you consider worse than the others.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but I would
Ask
go
them, ask them
Jets.
your show. I'm curious of what your football analyst on CBS would say.
All right, I'll bring it. I'll bring it up tomorrow. But I just, I just think at least Jerry Jones gives a crap and is there and is present. Like that.
To a
That's
detriment, though.
in terms of expectations for an owner. That's like the number like the most like obvious one that you would expect to have your owner to give a crap and be present. The Jets don't even have that. Woody Johnson is his head is in completely different areas, which is great, but you shouldn't be able to juggle both, in my opinion. And
I think there are some Browns fans and some Cowboys fans that would love their owners to be distracted by other things.
that's debatable, but either way. So I found this interesting. So the Chicago Bears fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. So the Bears are also in that mix of like dysfunctional
Yeah.
franchises. And I think, listen, Caleb Williams is a rookie. In my opinion, they were never winning the Super Bowl this year. The ceiling for them was probably a wild card team. The NFC North is absolutely with the Lions. They're so freaking good. It's like it's almost not even fair. Jared Goff threw 5 picks and they still won a game. Like that just never happened. So the Bears, their season sort of got derailed when that Hail Mary from Jane Daniels landed for a touchdown and they lost. But man, the worst thing, in my opinion, you could do for a rookie quarterback is keep changing the structure around him. And not saying Shane Waldron was, Tom Landry or, a great offensive mind. I don't know really much about him. But when you keep changing the infrastructure around a young quarterback, that is a recipe for catastrophe, in my opinion. These guys need stability. They need
You would
to
have
know
kept
that,
Waldron for the end of the season and potentially longer.
yeah, or and
I could
possibly for
not
next
disagree with
year.
you more
I
vehemently.
I I don't. I just think the Bears are not ready to be to win. Yeah, I know like the loss to the Patriots. Ugly. The Patriots are a scrappy team. The Patriots aren't some like
They had to score a
that.
touchdown on 23 drives, Frank. There's one thing to be underperforming, there's another thing to be objectively horrific. And the Bears' offense had been objectively horrific. Caleb looks lost of the 5 rookie quarterbacks that were
Yeah,
drafted
but like
in the
but,
round.
and
You
that's
take
part of the
Michael
issue.
Penix
But
out.
that's part
He
of the
looks
issue.
objectively the worst of the 4. He looks confused. None of their schemes make sense. But I saw a route tree comparison. And if you go back, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who played for Waldron in Seattle, which is where he came from, was asked what he thought about Shane Waldron when the Bears hired him on Radio Row. And he had to ask, "Is this live?" And when they said yes, he's okay. I'm not going to give you my real answer. He runs the same 4 or 5 routes every time. He makes his receiver. It's the most uncreative, simplistic offense ever. And I think it's so simplistic. And Caleb's not without fault here because he's been bad, Frank. But it was working so poorly that you were going to get him killed back there and kill his confidence. And I agree with you in a bigger picture theory that yes, continuity matters. But if it's a crappy product, don't continue with crap. Go out and find someone who can actually get the job done and then back him and stick with him. But Shane Waldron has no track record whatsoever of having a working offensive system with the current people on the Chicago Bears. And I have no issue with firing him. I think Matt Eberflus should be fired as well. I
Right,
think,
they're gonna fire. They're gonna then year 2 for Caleb. It's gonna be a new coach, new offensive
yeah,
coordinator, and then if
100%. Yes, because the current ones are horrific.
then but this is why it's a horribly mismanaged
They
team
should have
because
fired Eberflus
right
last year
they should after the season then they should have
and
started
brought in.
over
Yes, I agree with
and
that.
this is part of the whole dysfunction because now if the new guy struggles, you're gonna keep recycling. Caleb Williams is gonna keep having to learn new systems, and this is how young quarterbacks fail. The best young quarterbacks that are successful have a stable system and structure around them. And when you keep changing stuff, it just becomes too much and they fail. That's straight up what it
I
is.
don't agree with that. I don't. I think the best rookie quarterbacks and the best young quarterbacks are in systems with good play callers and good offense. And until you have one, go out and find one.
Right. Well, yeah, obviously, like, but so I don't know the actual like all the issues with the Bears, and I can't say I've watched every snap of Bears football, but like at some point there's got to be some sort of responsibility of the players and the quarterback. Like, is
Caleb's
there? I
not
mean,
been good.
there is a scenario
Yeah,
where maybe Caleb Williams isn't as legendary of a prospect as maybe everyone thought
a
he.
million percent. Caleb has not been good, Frank. Like, trust me, I
But
have
it's
not.
also so quick. Like people, especially nowadays with the Colts, like the Colts handling Anthony Richards has been abysmal. Like
I agree.
sometimes it takes these guys a few years to like get their feet wet, and then they start learning
And,
things and getting better. But
and
this
part of the
whole
issue though
like
is when the
the
coach has
pa
to.
the it's the panicking. The panic meter happens so much faster than it should, and it's a terrible thing for these young quarterbacks. I feel bad
It's
for them.
because general managers and owners expect immediate results, and you see guys who come in like a Brock Purdy, like a CJ Stroud, who had this immediate success, and
By
then
the way,
he totally
CJ Stroud is, in my opinion, is sort of regressing a little bit.
his offensive line and his weapons are out, but he's not been playing to the same level he did last year. But big picture, you see that and you're like, oh, we could have that guy. That should be happening in our city, in our franchise, with our team. And when it doesn't happen immediately, it's we got to figure out what's the issue. Why isn't this? Why aren't we getting that result? And I agree there are a lot of panic moves in football and the NBA, Major League Baseball that don't pan out and they're being made for the sake of making a move. But I also think it's foolish if you know someone's not the guy to keep going through the process thinking, hey, they'll develop into the guy. More often than not, you either know he is or he isn't. And if he's not, move on, find a guy who can be.
This is a scary time for the Bears because you're sort of like, all right, well, blaming this guy. All right, you think he's the problem? All right, he's gone. Now you're gonna fire the coach. All right, he's gone.
Yeah.
Now you better hope Caleb Williams figures it out quick because otherwise things will start happening. Well, they already are happening, but things will get even more real. But last thing before we go. So this Japanese phenom, Rokai Sasaki, is about to be posted. And basically everything that I hear is that he's going to the Dodgers. And this is just to me ridiculous because the Dodgers get like all these, it seems like every like big player that they want, they get. And they got Otani when it seemed like didn't seem like anyone else really had a fair shot. They're gonna get this guy Sasaki because he's just gonna choose to go to the Dodgers, and teams can't really like outbid each other for it. And to me, baseball needs to step in here and not and tell the Dodgers you can't sign him because it's not fair, and other teams deserve a fair shot, and I'm sick of it.
We actually talked about this on UCSS today because he's an international posting. If he doesn't sign until December, that means all teams have the exact same amount of money to offer. So in theory, the Guardians and the Dodgers and the Rays, Frank, I know it's crazy when talking baseball, said the Rays were in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. Like in this sweepstakes, the Rays can essentially be in it because they can all offer the exact same amount of international pool money by waiting until December 15th or January 15th. I forget what the date is, but the pool money all evens out. He's going to the Dodgers. It sucks. It's a West Coast thing. He's from Japan. He wants to play with Yamamoto and Otani, who were his Japanese international teammates. Yeah, I would love him to go to the Yankees or go somewhere else because the dude looks like the future star in the making. Have you seen his stuff, Frank? Have you watched any highlights yet?
It's
Throws
ridiculous. He throws like
100,
100 like it's
yeah.
nothing.
He had a 19 strikeout perfect game in the Japanese league. Dude's incredible. The Dodgers, the going is good and the good get better and the greats stay great for a reason. It's frustrating, but I don't know if Major League Baseball can step in and do anything.
It's just like oh again the Dodgers again they just got out tiny this ridiculous
What the
contract.
Yankees need is like England and France and Spain to start producing some elite baseball talent who want to play on the East Coast as opposed to the West Coast because it's closer to home. Like that, we just have to move Japan, Frank. We need to move Japan off the coast of Ireland. That's how we can get some of these Japanese players to want to sign with the Yankees as opposed to going all the way to LA.
By the way, I can't believe it took a hurricane destroying the roof of Tropicana Field to ruin Tropicana, like to like eliminate Tropicana Field because the Rays now don't have a home for this year. I hope the Yankees literally tell the Rays, no, you're not playing here. Sorry, you're not playing our spring training facility. You can go somewhere else. I hope that's how the Yankees handle it. We'll see what happens with the Rays. But I'll tell you right now, if they're especially with the fact they don't have a home stadium, there's no chance in hell. Not that he was ever going to sign there, but once those, I'm not going to the Rays now. They don't have a home ballpark, so we'll see what happens
Like
there.
either
But
sign Juan Soto or build a new stadium. It's one or the other.
so that's that. That will do it for this edition of Lucas Podcast. We'll be back next week. Maybe once we'll have a team by then. See you guys next week.
Peace.